to Love Restored. I am your host, Marshaun Olaniyan. Now, the segment that we're going to have today is all about restoring the love for oneself. And who is that one that I'm referring to? That one that I'm referring to is you. Yes, you who is listening to this, because so many of us have gotten far away from loving who we are truly, deeply, because of what others have done to us, how they have disrespected us, how they have fed nothing but negativity into our minds. And until you're able to truly love yourself, there's no way that you can love a spouse, a significant other, or a partner, and your child or children. Now, I know that that can be a little groundbreaking, if you will, because how can I say that you cannot love your child or children if you don't love yourself? Yes, you have love for your child or children, but there's no way that you can nurture your child in a healthy manner if you are not healthy yourself. So I want to take a deeper dive into why restoring the love that you have for yourself is so very important. Again, ideally, before we get into our love relationships, we need to have this love for oneself to be restored as well. Because just like your child or children, there's no way that you can have a deep, connected relationship or marriage without you loving yourself. Because you're going to find yourself falling into somebody else's trap, if you will, by going along with what they want to do all the time, by going along with their ideas versus creating and owning your own ideas, right? So self-love is the most effective way to create long-term change in your life, not anybody else's life, because you only have control over the choices that you make, the ideas that you come up with and implement, and the way that you're showing up day by day, moment by moment. You don't have any control over the things that people say about you. You don't have any control over the things that people do to you. You don't have any control over the things that people say to you. The only control that you have is over yourself, over oneself. That is you that is listening here today. So you must get a handle on understanding that loving yourself is really the only way to long-term change. Loving yourself goes into the self-acceptance of yourself. See, when is the last time you actually looked in the mirror in your birthday suit and toward all of your flaws, loved on yourself and praised yourself? Okay, if you have cellulite, oh, I love you, you're beautiful. Speaking life into your cellulite. Or maybe you don't like your chubby cheeks, speaking life into your chubby cheeks. Maybe you don't like your skin tone. Maybe you don't like your hair. Maybe you don't like your nails. Maybe you don't like your eyes. Maybe you don't like your lips. Maybe they're too thin, or maybe they're too full, right? The things that you do not like about yourself, or which you deem as flaws that somebody else may just be craving to receive. So we have to be very intentional about the things that we are saying to ourselves about ourselves. Because as I just mentioned, control, right? So we must be able to control the things that come out of here. Control your tongue, because there is power in your tongue, sis. Absolutely power in your tongue. And this thing can speak life, but it can also speak death. It could make you the most positive person on planet Earth, but it also has the power to make you the most negative person as well. So loving yourself is the only way to see some long-term effective changes for the long haul. Another thing why you need to restore the love for yourself is because it allows you to love others deeply. Now, I just mentioned your child, children, or your spouse or significant other. And if you've ever been in a relationship, then you know that there can be some disconnection within relationship. It could be some misunderstandings, the way person is talking to you, how they're disrespecting you, how they're not honoring you or appreciating you, trusting you, etc. The list can go on and on and on, right? And so it's very important for you to understand that you have to love yourself deeply first before you can give any portion of that deeper love, not the superficial level, that deeper love to another person. You have to be willing to open up and share yourself and give yourself away in such a vulnerable way where the person feels connected to you, but they also now understand you better. They understand why you react the way that you react and how you're hopefully working on how you are reacting versus just always reacting. Because when you react, you are not thinking about the things that are coming out your mouth. You're just popping off, if you will, saying the first thing that comes to your mind. And when we're doing this, we're usually doing it to get our spouse's attention in a negative way, because most of the time when you're trying to get their attention in this manner, you want to hit below the belt because you know that you are hurting deep inside and you want your spouse or significant other to now hurt just as much as yourself. And so this can be a road to disaster, because if you cannot control your responses, if you cannot control the way that you are reacting toward the way that your partner's behaviors or their habits, the things that are coming out of their mouth, the way that they're treating you, if you can't control how you show up in that moment, then guess what? You're going to stay on that hamster wheel going round and round and round and round and round, never getting any results, or at least never getting any positive results, because you will get some results. You just may not like the results that you are getting. So you have to be very intentional about the way that you are showing up and understanding that the connection comes in the vulnerability. Let me say that again. The connection that you so seek, that you deeply want, that you're even craving, is when you can be and show your vulnerability. Vulnerability is the key to connecting on a deeper level. Now, it's a little bit easier to do this with your child or children because there's not the same type of emotional attachment that you would have to a love relationship or to your significant other, right? So you can be vulnerable with your children. It's a little bit easier. However, I do know that there are some people that struggle with even being vulnerable at all. They have to show their tough exterior all the time, no matter who it is. So maybe the child is not being held or hugged enough, right? They're not being told, I love you enough. They're not being praised enough, right? And so this is where it starts to hinder the child later on, because this is all they know, right? Because of what you, the parent or guardian, showed them. And so they model the same behavior that they've experienced or that they are accustomed to being a part of. And now it's showing up in their own relationship, not realizing that your behaviors were actually crippling the way that your child or children showed up later on in life. Now, some of this happens to be very productive for survival and getting yourself out of situations that you shouldn't have been in probably in the first place, right? However, when it comes to your romantic relationship, being able to allow and crack that shell of that exterior, that tough exterior shell that you carry around with yourself, being able to take off your armor, if you will, when you get home is very important in order for that connection to occur with your spouse. It is very important for you to be able to connect with your spouse, because otherwise, what are you doing? So bringing it back to love restored with oneself is of the utmost importance in order to get the things that you want, the things that you need, the things that you desire, as well as being an active participant in creating the life, as well as your love life that you want. And modeling the same habits and behaviors to your child or children so they can see what showing vulnerability is all about and why it's a good thing versus a weakness, and how they can now model the same behavior later on in their life. And all of this goes back to you loving yourself first before you can freely pass along that love to anyone else. It really doesn't matter who that person or people are, but until you truly accept all of yourself, love all of yourself, adore all of yourself, flaws and all, and speaking praise into yourself, you're going to have an issue with that deeper connection, which is something that you absolutely need. So if you cannot connect deeply with yourself by even spending time alone, like I have some friends and even some clients that cannot spend time alone. Their fears come in and take over, and maybe they well, I do know that some of them at least and I do know that some of them at least suffer from some type of abandonment issues that for whatever reason they have not worked through and or gotten over. And so whenever the relationship seems to be rocky and the person walks out, not necessarily because they're abandoning them, the other person just needs some space to think, to process, automatically the first thing that comes up is, I was abandoned. But they are interpreting what's actually happening wrong. And it's because that abandonment feeling that they felt might be the same or similar as to what they're feeling currently, but it's because they're relaying them together or connecting them together wrong. But we have to learn how to spend time with ourselves. That is a form of loving yourself, because the reason why so many people have trouble with spending time with themselves is because they don't want to think, or I should say they really don't want to listen. They don't want to listen to the thoughts that come up when there's nobody around, when the room is quiet, when it gets dark outside, and everything from the day has been done, or you have now just shut down because you're done for the day. Now these thoughts just start to come up. It could be your negative self-talk, but usually people run away from the things, the difficult things that they need to deal with. And whatever it is, it could be a plethora of things. It could be a multitude of things that they need to deal with. But usually it's one or two things that just keep popping up. And instead of dealing with these things that keep popping up, guess what? We're running. I gotta go to the next thing. I gotta go do this. Oh, I'm being called. Oh, let me scroll through social media, because we're not thinking, just aimlessly scrolling. And it's because you don't want to deal with all of the things that's coming up in here. And so you're just doing mindless behaviors that are not going to take your life to the next level, because you're running away. You are fearful of what is going to come up, what you are going to unveil in here and actually have to deal with, because most people want to run away from the difficult conversations. And I dare to say most people do run away from the difficult conversations versus just thinking about running away from difficult conversations. But all of this goes back to you understanding who you are, as well as loving all of yourself. And so we have to restore the love that we have for ourselves, so we can show up in these different areas of our lives and not worry about the outcome, or not worrying about what others think of us or their opinions of us. Because the more time that you worry about the opinions of others and what they're thinking, what they're saying, and how they're saying it, and are they talking about you when you walk into the room, the more that you are giving them your power. So you won't even be able to move good unless you know that they're saying positive things about you. But that's just not true. It's just not true. You have to be willing to, even if you catch somebody talking trash about you, you have to be willing to, maybe it's time to let them go or have a conversation, because it could be either and or both. And then not internalize what it is that they had to say. Because a lot of times we can internalize when people don't say the things that we believe that they should be saying about us, not realizing that they have their opinion. And people have opinions about each and every one of us. And we're not always going to like those opinions. But we all have an opinion or opinions about one another. Even though we try not to judge, most of us are judgmental of others, especially when we don't know them, right? And that first impression is everything. And so if we're not feeling the other person, we're judging them. 9 times out of 10, we judging them. 9 times out of 10, we are judging the other person. But if you're not worried about what they're saying about you, whether they are or are not talking about you, really don't matter, because you have this armor of self-love on you, and you know what they saying is just bouncing off of you. It's not sticking. It's coming towards you. It's just not sticking. Or it's going in here and coming out here. It's going in here and coming out here, because you know who you are. You love all of you, flaws and all. You know that you got some things going on in your life. And most of the time when people are talking about you and making all of these big things to say about you, true or not, is because they ain't got nothing else going on in their life. Because people that have things going on in their life, that are trying to attain goals and reach the next level in their life, they really are not trying to be a part of the gossip, because they got bigger things to do in life. So worrying about the opinions of other people just roll off. It's just rolling off. It's not staying up there at all. It's just moving like water on oil, or water on a duck's back. Have you ever seen how the beads of water just roll off? They don't penetrate at all. That's how you need your haters to be towards you. You need to allow the opinions roll off, the judgment roll off, them trying to give you a guilt trip roll off, them trying to say that you bougie or call you names roll off. Just blocking all of that stuff. Just get out of here. But that comes with you loving yourself. You're not just going to accept what people have to say about you, specifically when it's not facts, On top of that, if they haven't done the very thing that they're criticizing you about doing, then literally their opinion is null and void, if you will. It's not important at all. But all of this comes back to you loving you, restoring the love for yourself. Another thing about loving yourself, it allows you to make peace with your past. Loving yourself is so important that you know that whenever you made a mistake, whenever you just really messed up in your life, because you have forgiven yourself, because you have said, I did that. Man, I messed up royally. Which is, i.e., taking responsibility for the choices that you made and the outcome of your choices. But you know, it's okay. I did mess that up. And this could be anything. This could be literally the partner that you chose. It could be the way that you talk to their child or children. It could be the way you reacted to your spouse. It could be that credit card debt that you know good and doggone well you should not have kept swiping that card, and now you in so much debt. It could be a plethora of things that we just don't like that we did from our past. It could be the way that you treated your mom and dad when you was growing up. It could be the way that you treated your child or children. Like, again, it's a multitude of things that you can feel guilty about. But instead of holding on to that guilt, a person that has restored the love for themselves accepts what they did. Maybe even apologizes to the person or people that they hurt in their past. And then starts to walk upright because they still love themselves, flaws and all, and they even understand whose they are. Because listen, if God can forgive you, you also have to forgive you. You also have to forgive you if God has already forgiven you. There's really nothing better than understanding that each and every person out here has a past. All of us have a past. And most of us are guilty and feel ashamed about some of the things that we've done in our past. We weren't always angels. We weren't always mature. We didn't always take responsibility. But most importantly, we didn't always know. But when we know better, we do better, right? When we get the information and take action on becoming better, we can do better. We can give ourselves grace. We can give ourselves mercy. We can say, you know what? Again, I did that. I am holding myself accountable for that mess that I got myself in. And whatever that mess is, that's your mess. Own it. That was your choice. Own it. And whatever happened, those were also your consequences for the choices that you made. But a person that has restored the love for themselves, doesn't matter that they were a drug addict. Yeah, I was a drug addict. Like, I don't know if you know who Grant Cardone is, but he's a business mogul. And he always talks about his drug habit. Past. See, this is accepting your past. He has accepted that he could have been even further in life had he not been a drug addict. And he said that he knew that he never could work a 9 to 5. He always knew that he couldn't work for the man. And he could even be even further in his life, i.e. more successful than he already is, had he not had that drug habit. But because he had that drug habit, he couldn't focus. He couldn't get his life together because the drugs were controlling him. It was all about the next high, the next fix. But he's accepted and taken responsibility and even has held himself accountable for him starting later in life. but he's accepted it. He's like, that was me. That was my life. But now, that trial, those errors are helping others in the same situation or similar situations where their life just is in suck mode. And now he's helping them to redirect their steps in a positive way in a form like he did. Maybe not necessarily the same road that he took, right? But he's giving them hope. He's giving them hope that if me, a drug addict, can turn my life around, be accountable, take responsibility, but now I am this new man on the other side versus still being the drug addict and searching for my next fix. I'm good. And if I can do it, you can do it too. And that's basically his message. Like, he talks about a lot of other stuff as well too, because he's a businessman. However, the point of it is, if you really listen to his story, it's all about the past and how he's using the past to propel him so others, number one, don't make the same mistakes, but then also to propel him forward so he will not go down that road ever again. So he has restored the love that he had for himself previously by owning his past, by owning that he was the drug addict, by owning that he did mess up his life by allowing drugs to take over, by owning that he could have been further in life, but he's not because of the drugs. Like, it's a whole bunch of ownership that he takes in and that I really love about him, because there's so many people out here, like, even when I work with my clients, there's a lot of them that come complaining about their spouse not taking responsibility, never apologizing, never saying no. Never saying I'm sorry. That could be detrimental to the trust in the relationship, to the I got you in the relationship, to me being there for you for the long haul in the relationship. And a lot of that is because you don't know who you are, you don't know whose you are, and you have not restored the love that you need for yourself in order for the two of you, as I mentioned earlier, to deeply connect. You cannot deeply connect if you have not accepted your past, giving yourself some grace and mercy, and forgiving yourself for your past. You have to restore the love for yourself. That is going to be the only way that you're able to move to the next level, to create a deeper bonded relationship with your spouse. Like, literally is going to be the only way for you to understand why you are the you that you are today. And then finally, restoring the love for yourself. It gives others permission to now love themselves as well. Because the more they are around you, and the more that you are showing up as your true authentic self, and the more that you are really just honing in on taking responsibility for the actions as well as the consequences that come along with the actions, whether good or bad. Well, now they're looking at you like, okay, she could do it, I could do it. Like, why am I holding on to all of this pain and misery when I can just accept responsibility, and whoever is going to accept me will continue to be there for me, with me, grow with me, help me to become better. I help them to become better. So the more that you intentionally restore the love you have for yourself, the more that somebody else is going to look at you, because there are many people watching you, whether you realize it or not. And especially if you have many me's running around you, your babies, your child, your children, they're watching you, and they're really trying to figure out this thing called life. And maybe you're still trying to figure out this thing called life. But one thing's for sure, I can tell you that until you really start to hone in and really restore the love that you had when you were a child, when before life came in and buffed you upside the head, until you do that, you are going to be on the hamster wheel, not figuring it out, not up leveling your life, and absolutely not connecting deeply with your spouse or significant other. It all starts with you. Everything that you want to have in a relationship, the one with yourself first, as well as a love relationship, even the relationship with your child or children, as well as your sibling and parental relationships, is not going to happen. Not on a deeper level where you feel like they understand you and you truly understand yourself, as well as able to articulate that to your friends and family and even your child or children. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I want you to really think about what you're going to do today. What small change can you make today in order to love yourself deeper tomorrow? I am Marshaun Olaniyan, and this is Love Restored. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye now.